So my background was also in the comedy business. I actually moved to New York to do stand-up comedy like in my early 20s. Oh, shit. And I met Andrew doing that. So Andrew was just like one of those comedians, like you saw him performing and you just knew like he was going to be like special. You know, it wasn't just that he was a great stand-up. He was like the most driven, like focused, like knew like he was like believing in himself person that I've ever met. Like maybe to this day, everything that he like envisioned for himself, like he has done. It's like really wild. So like I met him early on. He was doing like, I guess you could call them open mics. Like there was this comedy club in the Village. It was called the Village Lantern. It was right near the Comedy Cellar. And Andrew used to like run a comedy show there because the way a lot of guys would get stage time is like you would go to some of these clubs and they called it barking. You basically stood on the street and you were like, hey, you want to see a free comedy show?
I've been barked at.
You have. And you bring in a couple of people that don't speak English. They're from like the Netherlands on vacation. A couple of like NYU people who are wasted. And like next thing you know, you've got like a little bit of an audience and you're doing your set. So when I met Andrew, he was doing that. But he wasn't like these other comics. Like he would do things that other comics wouldn't do. Like he would be like, I'm going to do an hour tonight. And you were like, Andrew, dude, you've been doing comedy for like a year. There's no way you even have an hour of material. But he'd be like, I'm going to do an hour. And he would do it. I watched him do this once, like he was probably like 2 years into doing comedy. And he did an hour. And honestly, it was a solid hour. So I started doing I was doing comedy, I was liking it, but then I got into like production and video. So I started just like shooting videos with comedians. Like I started doing videos with Andrew. I started shooting stuff for Andrew. I shot a bunch of like documentary stuff with Andrew when he was like young, kind of like on his way up, talking about like who he wants to, which I've given all that back to Andrew. He actually used that recently in his comedy tour. The Life tour that he just did. Kyle and I got to go to MSG, gave us tickets. We got to go, like, it was awesome.
That was a great experience.
Yeah. So I guess I'll like give you a little bit of my comedy experience too, because it all kind of ties together with the Andrew thing. But I was doing production stuff, and then I met the owner of a comedy club called Stand Up New York. And he had this like empty black box theater above his comedy club. And no one was doing anything with it. It was just empty. He was paying rent on it. And I was like, what if we turn this into a studio/podcast network, whatever. So he was like, let's do it. So I basically built a whole like studio, got all the equipment, like put this whole thing together. And we went to every comedian and we were like, hey, if you want to start a podcast, you could do it here. We'll do it for you. Well, we just want like an ad split if you ever make any advertising money on it. We don't own it. It's your podcast. And we ended up doing it. And we did shows. We did one with Nikki Glazer. We did one with Charlie Murphy while he was still alive. We did one with, actually it's a really popular one called Guys We Fucked, where these two female, it's like super popular now.
I've heard of it.
These two female comedians, it literally interviewed guys they've had sex with. It's kind of hilarious.
I'm sold.
Do you know how you get on that show?
It's a great show, but we ended up doing like 20 podcasts and all kinds of video stuff. And then we do like live shows at night. So it was a really fun time in my life. I was living in New York. I was doing that. And Andrew and I were friends, and it was great. So once we got the product launched, he was like, look, let me do a quick thing on my show just to like help you guys out. And it was really cool of him to do that.
Protect your balls and then get all the benefits that the Cold Plunge gives you. Stay in there longer, okay? Reduce that inflammation. Do all those things that make you feel good. Get another few minutes away from your wife and family. All the things that protects your physical and mental health. So ARKTK right here, this is my boy. Okay, once again, not paying me. I just want to support him. They look fire. He's a great fucking guy. I mean this genuinely. He's a great fucking guy.
Love you, Fatty.
He's giving y'all 25% off the promo code Flagrant at ARKTK, ARKTK, coldwear.com. Fatigate, we love you. We're proud of you. We appreciate you. And I hope you kill with these.